Welcome you all here to Equipping the Persecuted's first press conference in Washington, D.C. The reason we are holding this press conference is to draw attention to what is happening in Nigeria. And I know we have some people.
Mayatiala Breeders Association, Cattle Breeders Association are not breeding any cattle.
People who are on the front lines reporting this cannot be overstated, but the challenge that they face is that the media itself denies the reality that they see and report. It is truly without conscience that you can witness the execution of people and have it denied because journalists are too lazy, too corrupt, too stupid, too cowardly to stand up and tell the truth. That is without conscience. And, we have to stop being afraid of what people will say to us. We have to stop allowing those who tell the truth to be punished and those who lie to be rewarded.
Guys, it is no longer news that our federal government are the ones sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. They are the 100% behind insecurity in Nigeria. The reason for this, I don't know. The video you're about to watch is not my video. This is coming directly from Washington, D.C. They unveil how our government, they sponsor terrorism, how they reward those who speak lies, okay, and punish those who speak the truth. Guys, this video is too important. It's too important for all Nigerians not to hear, not to watch. That's the reason you must like this video. Please share it in all the platforms. Share this video. The things they reveal here, let me say this to portray the video about the watch. A couple of days ago, it's on paper, just Google it. Joint Task Force, right? I think it's Biafra. So they were about to capture this popular terrorist. What's his name? I said Tuji Bello. They terminated most of his men. Just few minutes for them to capture him. Guess what? They got an order that they should retreat. Our paper said, Nigeria Daily reported it. How Nigeria government protected Tuji. The reason for this, I don't know. See, if you don't share this video, I believe if you don't share a video like this for information like this to go out as far as it can, it means you enjoy this security. I can assure you one day this security it will reach you. Look at Fishnet Dadina everywhere. How they are covering up for Fulani herdsmen. How they went further to expose Fulani cattle breeder from Nigeria. They are not breeding any cattle. Waiting they be terrorist organization. Share this video as much as you can. But the only way you go push the enemy of Nigeria, you enjoy this spirit, and for you not to share this video. That is for you not to watch this thing to the end. This video is loaded. If you don't have the time, come back, share it. When you come back, come and watch. My God.
We are holding this press conference is to draw attention to what is happening in Nigeria. And I know we have some people in that are, I was privileged enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Frank Utu. Frank is from the very community, Yellowwater, where over 34 of his family members were massacred on June 13th. We are calling this the Father's Day Massacre. And we were fortunate enough to meet Frank. Frank was here in the United States, and we said, Frank, you need to come here and tell your story and talk about what has happened to his people and what is continuing to happen to his people in Yellowwater. So, Frank, I'd like to introduce you to come up and tell your story and bring some comments, sir. God bless you, and thank you for coming.
First of all, I want to thank you so much for the very noble privilege of addressing this gathering. I want to thank the organizers. I want to thank Judge Saul particularly, and members of the U.S. Congress. And I want to thank you so much for all you've been doing for Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Before I proceed, please, I implore you to stand up for just 10 seconds to observe a 10-second silence in memory of my brethren, my siblings, my relations, and all victims of massacre in Nigeria. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in perfect peace. Distinguished guest, I stand before you today a Nigerian. But more than that, I stand before you as a witness for everything you are saying here, or you've said here. I'm a living witness. So today you are getting a tangible, concrete evidence from he who has been a victim. You, the American people, and indeed the conscience of the free world, have heard stories about Nigeria. You've heard about corruption, you've heard about misgovernance, you've heard about terrorism, and on the flip side, you also must have heard about our great sportsmen and musicians and our guys in the entertainment industry and brilliant minds all over the world making global impact in sciences, medicine, and every other area. My name is Frank Faga Uto. I'm from Yellowwater, the very place where the massacre of last month took place. The village head of Yellowwater today is my cousin Kumagajo. He succeeded my dad, who passed away in 2023. I'm a lawyer and a graduate of the law school of the Northumbria University School of Law in the northeast of England, Newcastle. But today I'm a graduate student at the University of Central Oklahoma. I've come straight from the heart of this unfolding tragedy. Last month, like I said earlier, over 200 people who are my friends, my family, my neighbors were brutally, gruesomely, in the most cruel manner, killed. But before then, every month, we do record 10, 20 deaths in the hands of these terrorists. But it has never been pronounced because we lived with it in the last 10 years. Last month was different because of the sheer number, the sheer size of what happened. 34 members of my family were annihilated. 34 members of my own immediate family. My auntie, who was pregnant with twins, was butchered. Her belly was pierced, and they removed the twins and slaughtered these twins, the fetuses. My friend, who just came to the village that day, he spent 7 years studying pharmacy in the university and had graduated a year ago and had done his housemanship and came to the village, and they killed him. That they burnt him to death in his room that night. My sister, God's mom, Mary, a very devout Catholic who has been an altar server, who is a 300 level student, that's how we call it in Nigeria, third year student of accounting in Nasarawa State University, was butchered and her brain was spilled out that night. Children, 1 month old, 3 months old, aged 70 years, 80 years old people who cannot flee, were cycled with fuel in their room and burnt to death. When this massacre happened, the first call I got very first thing in the morning, the first 8 names I asked after spontaneously were all killed. The first 8 names. It was that 20% of my village was annihilated. We're a village of about 2,000 and about more than 200 were killed on that day. Relative to America, it's like 30 million Americans, so 50 million Americans killed in a single night. That was just what happened. For too long, the true nature of this conflict has been obscured by euphemisms and mischaracterizations, just like what you say there. Some call it climate change, some call it grazing routes, but those are the euphemisms for the true context, the essence of exactly what is happening. So we in the Middle Belt have faced a calculated, systematic act of terror, and I'm here to tell you unequivocally that Nigerian Christians, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, have been facing genocide. And of course, that's exactly what's happened. I assure you, when armed militias converge in your village and start killing and shouting the internationally recognized slogan and motto of jihadis all over the world, Allahu Akbar, it's no longer ethnic, it's not political, it's strictly religious. And that was exactly what they were doing that night. That was a chant from beginning to end. They were killing and shouting Allahu Akbar every step of the way. And you know the funny thing? They took 4 hours doing that. And let me paint a graphic picture of what Yerota is. My village is situated on the federal highway, what you call the interstate in America. So it's not a village in the hinterland where the road is impassable. It's a village that is just 25 minutes drive to the state capital, Makurdi, where there's an Air Force base, the Tactical Air Command of the Nigerian Air Force, where they could deploy a drone. It's 25 minutes drive. And in Makurdi, there's the presence of the 72 Special Forces Battalion of the Nigerian Army. And then the next capital, the capital of Nasarawa State, Lafia, is placed 51 kilometers away from my village. So we are sandwiched by 2 capitals, state capitals, on the highway, on the interstate. And these terrorists operated for 4 good hours, burning everybody in the village. That points exactly to what has been an established fact: state complicity. Distinguished audience, the Nigerian government, despite its pronouncements, has demonstrably failed to defend us. Time and again, when our villages are attacked, help is either non-existent or deliberately arrives too late. Worst, when our young men, driven by desperation to protect their families, organize themselves in self-defense, they are often met not with support, but with arrest and detention by the very authorities who should be protecting them, leaving our communities even more vulnerable. This is not just neglect, it is active disarming of the victims. Therefore, I stand you today to make an urgent, fervent plea, a plea for the conscience of America and the global community. 1, I reaffirm what my bishop, the bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Makurdi, Bishop Anagbi, said to the U.S. Subcommittee on Africa, Congressional Subcommittee on Africa in March this year, that let's designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The systematic, egregious violations of religious freedom against Christians in northern Nigeria demand this designation. This is not merely symbolic. It triggers mechanisms for focused diplomatic and economic pressure, sending an unmistakable message to the Nigerian government and the perpetrators that the world is watching and will not tolerate this genocide and injustice. Secondly, we need intervention, not indifference. We need active, robust intervention from the United States, the West, and all people of goodwill across the globe. We need monetary and humanitarian aid, very especially, to help rebuild our villages and take care of the medical and clothing needs of our people, as well as food. Our people don't have food now. They hardly eat in a day. Beyond the humanitarian aid that is desperately needed, we make the following call. A, targeted sanctions. Impose sanctions on individuals and entities implicated in the persecution and violence against Christians in Nigeria. My brother Steve mentioned some names. Those are the names. These figures are well known. Some time ago, 2 years ago, Dubai arrested about quite a couple of terrorists, that's the UAE government, and prosecuted and jailed them. They gave them a corresponding list of their sponsors in Nigeria. The UAE sent that list to Nigeria, and Nigerian government has slept on it up to this day. Intelligence sharing. C. We need capacity building, share critical intelligence with groups capable of defending themselves. and provide non-lethal weapons and defensive capabilities to vulnerable communities, bypassing a government that has proven unwilling or unable to protect its own citizens. D. Diplomatic pressure. Leverage every diplomatic tool to demand accountability from the Nigerian government for its failure to protect its Christian citizens and to cease the arrest of those attempting self-defense. E. Allow us to defend ourselves. If the Nigerian government cannot and will not defend us from this systematic jihad, then they must allow us the right to defend ourselves. Instead of sending soldiers to arrest our able-bodied youth who are merely trying to protect their homes and families, the government must step aside and permit communities to organize legitimate self-defense mechanisms. Disarming the victims in the face of an existential threat is no neutrality, it is complicity. Furthermore, as crucial part of the solution, we demand that the USA, the Interpol, and the global community arrest the sponsors of the Fulani jihad in Nigeria, who are the very center of gravity of this genocide. Those sponsors are well known to the US, to Nigeria, and the Interpol, and they are among the top echelon of the Nigerian political, business, economic, and traditional institutions. They must be prosecuted before the International Criminal Court, ICC, for crimes against humanity. This is not merely about justice for the past, it is also about dismantling the machinery of terror that continues to threaten our existence. My people are resilient, we are resourceful, but we are also systematically slaughtered. We are not asking for an army to fight our battles, but for the fundamental right to protect our lives, our families, and our faith in the face of an existential threat that the state has failed to address. The price of continued inaction, of polite diplomacy that ignores the brutal reality on the ground, will be paid in Christian blood. Let us not allow history to record that when Yerwata, my village, when Benue State, my state, which is made up of 98% Christians, and when Nigerian Christians are persecuted by these murderous jihadists, the world turned a deaf ear. Let us instead forge a new chapter, one where justice prevails, where human dignity is upheld, and where the systematic jihad against Nigerian Christians is made with the resolute stand of a global community, echoing a dark chapter from our own history. Finally, I called on the US, all of you here, to help pray for my siblings, for my friends, for my relations, for my community, for my state. The American dream, which was so well encapsulated and articulated in paragraph 2 of the Declaration of Independence, that you so much desire, we also desire that. We desire this unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, we do. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. God bless Nigeria. God bless Yerwata, and may the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, continue to rest in perfect peace.
We produced a 28-minute short documentary on the massacre in Yellowwater. And
there was no Truth Nigeria. There was no media organizations. And you know what was happening to those people? To Lawrence and Masara Kim and all of them? The journalists sitting in the big capital cities, the big cities and in the capital, who were taking the line from the government and didn't have the courage or the integrity or the professionalism or the character or the motivation to go to those frontline villages. They just bought the line from the government that it wasn't really happening, and they bought the line from the U.S. State Department that this is nomadic tribesmen being forced to move from climate change. The Fulani are not really terrorists. oh, the fact that they're Muslims got nothing to do with it. Because they're nomadic tribesmen, they're looking for other land. They're looking to go somewhere, and that's forcing them to clash with the Christian villages. Nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. That is just an example to you of how climate has been used as a scam. I mean, it's not just fake, it's much worse than that. All of these systems that are being implemented that are so profoundly dishonest, they're systems of control. How do we control the people, control the information and the narrative, and then have that as cover to do whatever it is that we want to do? Which, by the way, is to go into Christian villages and not only annihilate people. I mean, in one of the recent attacks that Truth Nigeria has reported on, putting women and children inside cages in the market and burning them alive. I mean, I was sitting down to a dinner in my hometown in Texas one Friday night years ago. My husband was with me. It was when we were trying to get the sound of freedom was being blocked because people didn't want child trafficking to be a conversation everyone was having. And we were doing our best to help get that movie put out. And I got a video. I showed it to my husband as we sat down. He couldn't eat. And it was a young 18-year-old girl from Nigeria who was pulled from one of the villages. And as they were slicing off her head, they were digging her baby out of her tummy. And she was well advanced in pregnancy. That's the reality of what, when you put those numbers up and you go before your colleagues in Congress and you put those numbers forward, that's what it means in human terms. I mean, Lawrence once was calling Doug and myself, he's sitting in the back of a meat wagon on the bodies of his friends and neighbors with malaria. Remember, after that he went out with malaria for weeks. I mean, these the courage of the people who are on the front lines reporting this cannot be overstated. But the challenge that they face is that the media itself denies the reality that they see and report on with their own eyes and ears. I mean, that's without conscience. Honestly, I stand before all of you in the National Press Club of the United States of America, the most powerful free nation on earth, where we have First Amendment rights. And I cannot say strongly enough to the press corps, do your job. Do your job. Because we are supposed to be the inspiration and also the safety net for journalists everywhere. It is truly without conscience that you can witness the execution of people and have it denied because journalists are too lazy, too corrupt, too stupid, too cowardly to stand up and tell the truth. That is without conscience. And, we have to stop being afraid of what people will say to us. We have to stop allowing those who tell the truth to be punished and those who lie to be rewarded.
The Meati person who spoke is here. The person, Lower Benue, has run away, and that is what they do with us. They tell us what they want, and then they run. They don't hear us. But let me say one thing clearly. Meati Allah Breeders Association, Cattle Breeders Association are not breeding any cattle in this country. All the cattle, majority of them that we see up and down this country come from Pokistum market in Yobe. They buy them and they take them across the country. Once they finish selling, they go back. So no person is breeding any cattle in this country. If they were breeding, they would have known that it is better, it's healthier to breed cattle on a ranch. They would have known that. But there is another thing which we must also appreciate. And this is the fact that the current crisis, even though you can trust it to the killing of a small Fulani person going about with cattle, is actually not right to trace it to that point, because this problem has been happening here for more than 10 years. For more than 10 years. And I want us to not forget the fact that this is not just a Benue problem. Today, the Fulanis are in Bayelsa and they are grazing by force. Today, the Fulanis are in Rivers State and they are grazing by force. So we who are Nigerians and who want to stand our ground as citizens of this country must appreciate the fact that we are not dealing with a local problem, we are dealing with a bigger problem. The issue of Nasarawa State has come up, and we know that even during Amakura's time, Fulanis were coming there and attacking Benue State, and Amakura will call them international hunters. He will call them international hunters, in spite of the fact that Nasarawa State does not have any international hunting grounds. He will call them because he wanted to mask that. And even today, the governor of Nasarawa State, Sule, is also masking the problem. Those of you who are in Nasarawa State will know that ancestral lands belonging particularly to the Tea people in Awe, in Doma, in Kiana, in Lafia, and in Obi have been taken over and given to Fulani people. And these Fulani people are the Fulani people coming outside the country. Now, no other person in his right senses will ever deny that the Fulanis who are pushing and attacking us are coming from outside the country. It is people like Sule, the governor of Nasarawa State, who is giving them haven, who is giving them refuge, who is getting the lands of his own citizens and giving it to these people. The person from Lower Benue talked about climate change. Let us be clear on one thing. The people who are coming as a result of climate change and pushing us are armed and they are not from this country. As citizens of this country, if we never resist when our governors and our politicians push us away from our lands and give it to foreigners, we will be making the greatest mistake of our lives. The Nigerian who is a citizen has more rights to the land of this country and the resources than somebody who is coming from outside this country, no matter what is chasing that person. What do I want us to do? First, I want us to note that our politicians in the different parts of the state, including this state, have sold us. You are standing here, we are sitting here.